Okay, welcome to my channel. Now this is A Square Maths Made Easy Academy. Now we are going to continue with differentiation again, and I want you to pay attention to this very particular word question. Now what I want you to do is to watch and cue in. Now let's go. Take a look at this question very carefully. Now the question says that if y is square root of x, now find y prime of what? 1. Now this y prime of 1 is the same thing as saying y prime of what? X. Are you with me? And this prime, as I told you before in my video, is called differentiation. It's called what? Differentiation. Now this is objective word question. I'm going to solve it normal method, which is using the formula. Then I'll also use what we call shortcut as well, so that we can now do the comparison of the word 2. Now let's go. I want you to watch and pay attention to it. Now the question is this. Watch. Solution first. Now we're given that y is equal to square root of what? X. Now how do we differentiate square root of x? I want you to understand that you first of all convert this square root into exponential or what? Power. Now square root means power of 1 over 2. Are you with me? So if I remove this square root, it will give me x raised to the power of what? 1 over what? 2. Now can you see that it is very easy to differentiate now? Now I want to differentiate y with respect to what? X. It will now give me y prime of what? X. Are you with me? Then it's now equal to. Now how do we differentiate x raised to the power of what? 1 over 2. Remember, the law is you should first of all identify the power. The power here is 1 over 2. Then you multiply. Now the next thing is to repeat exactly the question and introduce minus 1 to the word power. Now the question is what? X raised to the power of 1 over 2. Then introduce minus what? 1. That is from general formula for differentiation. Now if you continue, you have y prime of what? X is now equal to 1 over 2. Are you with me? Times. Now how this is x, right? Then take the LCM of the power. But the easiest way is just use this 2 to multiply by 1. That is to say 2 times 1 will give you what? 2. So what remains at the power is now 1 minus 2 divided by the denominator, which is what? 2. Then if I continue, I have y prime of what? X is now equal to 1 over 2 times x is 1 over 2 what? X. Are you with me? Now to the power, 1 minus 2 is minus 1 all over what? 2. Now you can observe the powers of x has a negative. So it implies that now this power x now, this x now will move down to the denominator. So that we now have y prime of what? X is now equal to, left with only 1 all over this very particular 2. Then this x will move according to the law of indices. It becomes x raised to the power of 1 over what? 2. Are you with me? Now I want you to know that this is y prime of what? X is now equal to 1 over what? 2. Now how do we identify this back? This 2 is at the denominator, so it implies square root of what? X to the power of what? 1. How do I write square root? This is square root of what? X to the power of 1, which is the same thing like this. Now this could have been the final what? Answer. Are you with me now? But if you observe this, they have already given us the value of x. Look at it here. The value of x is what? 1. So we will now substitute and know exactly what we are going to get here. Are you with me now? Now let's substitute for x equal to what? 1. Now here, now from the last expression now, I'll be having y prime of what is x? X is what? 1. Then it's now equal to 1 all over. Now this is 2. Then square root of what? What is x? X is what? 1. Now the question is, what is the square root of 1? Square root of 1 is 1. And 1 times 2 is what? 2. So the final answer is now 1 over what? 2. And that is all. Now looking at the options, do we have something like 1 over 2 in the option? Now option A says 1, which is no. Option B says -1, which is no. Then option C says 1/2. So which means the correct answer in the option is option what? C. Are you with me? Now this is exactly how to use it, solving the normal world method. But for clarity, especially those that are writing objective question or CBT, want to use shortcuts in order to solve this particular word problem, and the answer will do what? Appear. Now I want you to watch. So what do we do next? We want to use what we call shortcut, short word, cut. We want to cut it off. Now what are we given? We're given y to be what? Square root of what? X. Now if you observe my previous video on differentiation, you can agree with me that the root is bigger than the what? Powers of x. So at this process now, what do you think that will actually happen? The x will come down to the denominator. Now I want to differentiate y with respect to what? X. It will not give me y prime of what? X. Are you with me? Now equal to. Remember, the secret is to consider the powers of x here. The powers of x here is 1 over the root. The root is 2. Then I'll put in what? 2 here. Are you with me now? Then after that, at the denominator, then repeat the question. The question is square root of what? X. Are you with me? Now what happens to the root? The root is 2, right? So which means I'm going to introduce 2 here. 2 here. Then -1, which is a general word formula. At the end, it will now give me y prime of what? X. Is now equal to 1 all over what? 2. Then square root. Watch this. This is x, right? And 2 minus 1 should give you 1. And this is the answer. Just very simple. Then, but we are already given the value of x in the question. X is what? 1. So at x, 1, now let's substitute. Y prime of what? 1 is now equal to 1 all over 2. Then square root of what? 1. Then why is it 1? Because x is 1. Then square root of 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So which means the final answer is 1 over what? 2. Can you see that with the shortcut and the normal method, we're able to generate the same word answer? So the correct answer is option what? C. Have I made myself clear? Now see you in my next word video. Now this is A Square Maths Made Easy Academy. I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now I want you to like, then comment and do what? Share. Thank you so much. See you. Bye.